special time. Show me a hill I can climb. Give me a mountain to move, and I'll prove that it's a very special day. I woke up early this morning with gloom on my head. Had a big feeling to climb back in bed. Then I looked in the mirror and somebody said, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to lose the blues, and this is a very special treat. Tell it to everyone you meet, that life is all for living and love is all for giving. So this is a very special day. Tell it to everyone along the way that this is a very special day. Up early this morning with gloom on my head. Had a big feeling to climb back in bed. Then I looked in the mirror and somebody said, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to lose the blues, and this is a very special treat. Tell it to everyone you meet, that life is all for living and love is all for giving. So this is a very special day. Tell it to everyone along the way that this is a very special day.
And a very right. And a very good morning it is. And it is a wonderful Wednesday. That means my partner in crime is my Walmart Wednesday right over here. We got Bradley Gilbert. Good morning, Bradley.
Good morning, Becky.
What a beautiful day, right?
Absolutely.
Love this weather.
Seasonal allergies galore, but
bring it on.
It's a nice day.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
yes.
We'll take it.
Yes. And we have today, we have Education Wednesday. We do have Brent Ingram with us. Good morning, Brent.
Good morning.
And we also have Brittany, which I want to call her Walker, but it is Powers. Good morning, Brittany.
Good morning.
Yes, yes. So glad to have you with us. And Bradley, let's thank our sponsors this morning.
All right, we've got Meadowview Healthcare, Walmart, Salem Crossing, Americans for Prosperity, Mama Rose's, Fox Lee Wealth Management, Dr. Black's Eye Associates, Dr. Mindy Gunn, Marshall Monuments, and McAllister Lane Consulting.
All right, I want to talk about some good things that I'm seeing. Okay, don't think that we're not on to you, Bradley Gilbert, over there at Walmart.
Uh-oh.
I'm seeing the setup of the outdoor plants. We see the Lindsay and her team over there are already getting things lined up.
Yes.
For like the trees to start coming in, the shrubs to
Yes.
start coming in, and don't think we're not chomping at the bit to see this. Okay.
Yes, those mid next week you're going to start seeing the early flowers, things like that, trees, shrubs, things like that. So
we are over the moon about it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's like when you start getting into that, spring is coming. You know, I mean, it's right around the corner, and I think that's just one more sign. And it's funny how the talk is when we start seeing you guys start setting it up. They start kind of getting the lay of the land and where the plants are going to be, and
yeah,
it's exciting.
Yeah, that is. Last week they had their big lawn and garden kickoff for the market at one of the stores to talk about some of the new stuff. We've got a lot of the new furniture already in too, so new umbrellas. Walmart's completely redone their outdoor living stuff, but we've also added a couple of new associates to the team out there to get ready. So beginning next week we're going to be rocking and rolling, and they're going to actually they should have the parking lot set by the end of next week too, so we'll be good to go.
So excited about that. Yeah. And when you go through the garden center, you've got the umbrellas up high, which I love, because then I can kind of see how it looks and what it, I love the display. Somebody's really worked hard on all that.
Yeah, that would be Lindsay. She's a powerhouse over there. We're very lucky that she's leading that team.
Yeah, making it really nice. Yeah.
And again, remember, we've talked about this, as plants and stuff are coming in for Mother's Day, things that are coming up, Easter, that team will put together pot, soil, plants for you. You just got to pick it out, pay for it, and they will completely build your planters from bottom up. So and let them do the work free of charge. They love doing that. So that's something that Lindsay and her team have been doing for a few years now. And so even if you don't have a green thumb, if you don't know you want someone to have a perfect gift like that, let them do the hard work for you.
Yeah. Well, you're screaming spring over there, and we like that. Keep screaming. As HR department.
Yeah, yeah.
I need to go on the intercom.
Yeah.
Spring has arrived at Salem Walmart. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. All right, we're on to the 12th day of March. Today is Girl Scout Day. So, do you like Girl Scout cookies, Brittany?
No, I'm not really a cookie person.
Okay, what about you, Brent?
Thin Mints.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Have you ever put them in your, like, the freezer, refrigerator?
No, you can do that.
Oh, yeah. And
Bring
then
'em.
crumble them up on ice cream. Sorry, I'm not
That's a
advocating
real
it.
thing.
It's a real
Oh,
thing.
gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it.
They're,
Yeah,
really
put 'em in-
good. They're really good.
Are they selling them at Walmart? Are the girls out there?
They were day before yesterday.
Right now, where are those
they,
girls?
They have
Yeah.
They have
Right, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
it's like your dealer. Where is
Yeah.
the dealer?
Yeah.
Right.
I know where we're going after this.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I love that, yeah.
They should be in school, so they may not
They
be out
probably
there.
are.
Yeah. If they're not in school, that's a bad thing.
We're
Yeah.
not advocating them to be
Yeah.
out there selling
They
cookies.
kind of got a day job, you know.
Yeah.
But, yes, you put those, that's a game changer, yeah.
Yes.
What about you, Bradley? What's your...
The peanut butter tag-along.
Ooh, yeah, I'm like on all of that. I do love the, is it Samoas? Yeah,
Yeah.
those are, oh, all of them, yeah. Just,
Can't go wrong.
I just have to stay away. National Alfred Hitchcock Day. You guys don't know
Nothing,
Alfred
yeah.
Oh, Bradley, we loved him, remember? Yeah, he had some really good mysteries.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he had this...
The birds.
Oh, don't even. Yeah, that's still to this day. I think that's why we're all a little
Oh, they
afraid
play
of
that at Regal now. Like they do the old movies,
Yeah.
and they play the birds like once a month.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
We need to go do that and watch that.
Tippy Hedren.
Yeah, that would
Melanie
be.
Griffith's mom. I know that's like really going crazy there.
No,
Down
but
a
I-
rabbit hole there, but
Look at you.
I love Melanie Griffith.
Little fun facts you know over there. Yeah, I love that. Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah, he came up with some really good stuff. Yeah. National Baked Scallops Day. Brittany, baked scallops.
I'm pretty picky eater, so maybe no,
Okay,
not at all. No.
Yeah, hard pass on that.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
me too. Ooh, National Milky Way. Brittany.
Nope.
Yeah, I'll go for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, yeah. National Plant a Flower Day. Hey, we've been talking about that.
There
That's
you go.
apropos.
It's a little early for this area.
Yeah, I did see
But less
the,
is indoor.
what's the, hang on, I don't know why I'm wanting to, what's the, daffodils?
Mm.
Like, just ready to bust.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just ready to open. I'm excited. I love that. I love the flowers, yeah.
Do you have the white, yellow, or the orange?
Yellow. It's the yellow. Just ready to go. Yeah, what do you have? You have all of
White.
it? White. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Very pretty. And then I have a orchid. I've never done an orchid before, and they're loving it.
I've never attempted that.
Yeah, it's a game changer. I have to baby them. I'm sorry. We're all about
See,
flowers.
but I don't have time to like.
Well.
Flowers are good and stuff when they come back, perennials, all that kind of stuff, and you don't have to mess with them a lot, you know. But no, I don't have time for that.
Well,
if you've got to talk to them and please
Look
bang
at
them the
you.
balloon, I don't want no offense.
Look
No
at
offense to working with us,
you. You are savage over there.
because
Look.
I know.
You ain't gonna give no attention. You ain't getting no attention if you're
Josh
playing.
Deaton does an amazing job with orchids and stuff, and
Yeah.
he's got the patience for it. You guys might find this hard to believe, but at times I can be very impatient.
Oh, I don't know about. I believe that.
And they cost too much money if I accidentally, mow
They were on
something
sale.
over
Yeah.
something
They were
like
on
that.
sale at
Yeah.
Walmart. Okay, they were on sale. Okay. In the
Hey, I'm
the
not
instructions,
like
all you have to do is put ice cube on 4 ice
You
cubes.
have to do. See,
4 ice cubes, and they're good.
See, that's too much work still.
Too much work.
Yeah. You got to put that on your calendar, and you got to put that
Oh,
reminder
did
in
we
your
have 4? Did we
phone.
give them 5? You know what I mean? Did we see a little thirstier? Yeah. National Working Moms Day. There we go. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah. Doing it to it. And you're a mommy.
I am.
Yes.
I am a mom. Yep.
And how many children?
I have one.
One.
One little girl.
Oh.
Yep.
Well done. Yeah. And we're doing it to it, aren't we? That's
Yep.
right. All right. National No Smoking Day. Is this today, the Great American Smokeout? I think so.
Is it?
We had a disc jockey years ago, and he smoked it for years, and he actually participated in this. And he said it on Coffee Club actually one morning. He said, "I'm not going to do it," and he put it down, and never smoked again.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's quite a bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's see here. Registered Dietitian Nutrition Day. Love that. World Against Cyber Censorship Day. So there we go. All right. So those are some holidays. Get out and enjoy. All right. So you guys are coming from West Washington, and tell us a little bit about yourself, Brent.
I think me and Brittany actually came in the exact same year, so we've been out there 8 years, 4 years as a PE teacher, the last 4 years as the assistant principal at the high school, and then the last 8 years as the baseball coach, so it's been a good run for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work in the elementary. I'm a 6th grade teacher now. I started in 4th grade, did 4 years there, and this is my 4th year in 6th grade. I was girls basketball coach for the junior high for a year, and then I did some elementary girls basketball, and along with being an assistant coach for the softball team. And so this is my first season as the head coach of the softball team.
That's exciting, isn't it? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And it looks like if our spring stays, spring sports are always the hardest, don't you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Like to get them all in?
Oh yeah, I mean we'll schedule 28 games, but if we get 15 in, that's probably a good year.
Yeah, no, it's true. The struggle's real. I mean, they're wonderful, they're great, and they're fun to watch, and good. We love, baseball and softball and all that, but it's just like hard to get those games in.
Oh, yeah, I think 2 years ago, I think we had flurries in mid-April, so
it happens.
played through it, but
yeah, we were playing in the game during that day.
yeah.
Boy, that makes them tough, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be there then. It's like, this isn't the spring. What are we doing?
I know.
Let's go back in the gym and play basketball.
Well, it's interesting. I was Shayna Williams.
Yeah.
We were. Grayson was still playing that season, and we were talking because you guys, we had that, and then later on in the season, we were all getting sunburnt. So we were just like, it's like, it's awesome to think about baseball season. You're starting with flurries, and then you're ending with, sunscreen and everything. And so, but it's, that makes it fun, though.
I forgot we had like a double header, and everybody's just coming out of there red as can be, looking like lobsters.
Yes.
And the day before, we were all wearing sweatshirts. Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, and I think Shayna had like the holes in the blue jeans and didn't even think about it, and then had like sunburn on the
hilarious.
spot. So,
That's funny.
But yeah, that was some good times, though.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. Well, and it's true. It is the way we roll around here for sure. But let's jump in because Brittany doesn't even seem like you should be old enough. I still think, I still can see you walking across the stage for graduation. It's hard to get my head wrapped around. That it just seems, time goes by so fast for sure.
Yeah.
But Brent, let's talk about you. Okay, are you originally from
Salem?
I thought so. Okay,
yeah.
You were a Salem guy. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, then my dad, he taught at Eastern, coached there for about 30 years.
Okay.
So, like I said, had an Ingram out there and Ingram at Salem, and now we're both out at West Washington.
Right, that's what, okay. So you're well-rounded, kind of,
Touched all 3 schools.
Yeah, well, that speaks volumes.
Me and Brittany, we actually went to school together. She was 2 years behind me, so I think I used to copy some of her etymology stuff.
I love that. Well, that's why you stay close.
Yeah, still friends to this day.
You never know. You might be.
As assistant principal, he's not advocating for anything.
No, gosh, no.
Yeah.
I've learned from those mistakes. I did serve detention for that one. Yeah.
Hey, you paid your dues.
Yeah, I paid my dues.
The system works.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. System works. That's funny. So let's go back. Let's start with your assistant principal. So is this something that, how did this come about? Was this something on your radar, or tell us a little about that?
So I think we met before, and we were talking about after COVID, we just expected with the attendance and kids not being in school for 2 or 3 years, they're going to need a lot of assistance. So we actually ended up adding an assistant principal job, and that was 4 years ago. And then at the same time, Mary Ann, who was our former principal, she got out, and we hired...
Which we love.
She's great.
We love her.
Yeah, so we hired Dr. Gerges from Bedford, and me and her came in about the same time, and that's kind of where it all started 4 years ago.
Just not to go back, because we were just talking about, actually yesterday was the anniversary of when, really the COVID, we really heard about COVID and kind of really started being a little bit more, I guess, around here, especially now.
The shutdown started.
Yeah, the 19th was the actual day.
Yeah.
But we started like this is
Yeah.
when all of the
I think it
speaking.
was right before like boys regionals because they had sectionals and then all these teams
Yeah.
won other sectionals and we're like, oh, I guess I got to stop
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Well, and remember that's when all your super spreaders. We learned all about that.
Yeah.
Remember everybody getting together, and then and then when when the March Madness stuff started shutting down,
Yeah.
that's when you were like, it's real.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and all that
That
starts going
Yeah,
down.
and toilet paper madness started.
Which who knew?
Yeah,
Right?
I know.
Who knew?
And I think our first case was like in Fishers at a school, and a school shut down up there, and it was just kind of real taboo at the time. And then it wasn't 48 hours; we were all shut down. We're like, oh wow, that happened real quick.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody was so scared. You know,
Yeah.
we
Oh,
the
yeah.
unknown and and trying to understand it and get your head wrapped around it.
Yeah.
And then, I know like as media, we were like demanding, we're begging, to get some information that we could give out. And then on the medical side, they're trying to figure this out too,
Mhm.
So it was kind of like everything was like hodgepodge. And you can see on their end, if they had some information, they would put it out. And then in an hour it might change,
Yeah.
and trying to bring that back in, and people like to take things and run with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, and you hear rumors and stuff.
We had emergency Zoom meetings on Thursday afternoon saying that this is probably going to get bad, and by Friday afternoon it was like, now we're probably it's going to be we're going to have essential worker status and all this kind of stuff to be able to stay open. It just like within 48 hours, our world just changed.
Yeah.
Even here in Washington County, and you would think that
yeah,
bigger cities
right.
would change probably quicker, but it was quick.
And I think for us, it was like you're all going to go on virtual learning, and that's a pretty common phrase now. I mean, there's kids that are doing virtual learning alone, but for us 4 years ago, nobody knew what that looked like. So it was just sending kids home with Chromebooks and figuring it out on the fly, and it was a mess for us. It was a mess for everybody. It was.
But I feel like that almost forced us all to learn about virtual a little bit more, or do
Oh, yeah.
virtual a little bit more, which we know now is a blessing to have. If we
Yes.
need it for snow days or for
Yeah.
whatever days. So I'm just trying to bring up if there's a positive to anything. And then on Walmart, you guys were essentials and learned all about online grocery. That was in place. So
That was thankfully already in place.
I know,
We had that
but like
in
talk
place
about
like
using it. And
10 months, and we actually got it early. We were not supposed to get it as early, and you were part of the
Oh,
kickoff of all of that, and we
Wonderful,
got it 10
yeah.
months early. We were supposed to get it, actually would have happened after the pandemic had just started
But
and
that was-
everything, and so they were up and running, and that really
talk about
helped
heroes. Yes,
tremendously.
yeah. I mean, for families. I mean,
business went, more than doubled overnight just for
beyond.
that aspect.
Yeah.
So I got a question. The other day I went to do a pickup, and
Oh gosh.
no,
No,
I
I'm the HR guy.
No, everything was fine. It was great service,
Yeah.
but I drove around the parking lot for probably 15 minutes before I realized you guys had moved it all the way to the right side. Is that what? You know what I mean? As you're coming in
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the right.
Well, in our defense, we moved that 2 years ago.
You did.
Yeah.
I used to live in Sellersburg.
Okay.
Yeah, so we
okay.
just moved to
Yeah.
Salem,
Okay.
and then
All right.
Clarksville.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Clarksville
it
did the
was
same
right
thing.
up front because it was up front. But
Yeah.
the business actually outgrew that, and actually we had to remodel, do a different type of a refresh remodel to make space to move it over there.
Yeah, so the Clarksville
yeah.
Walmart did the same thing to
So,
me, and I'm like, when did all
yeah.
these guys start moving it to the
Yeah.
side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's been based on the business.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So I apologize for that.
No, you're good. Like I
But
said,
like it was most men, don't you love the hunt? Didn't you love that hunt? Like trying to
No,
find
gosh,
it?
no, I was-
He's like, I gotta get this stuff and get home.
I was angry. I wanted to see the manager.
Mike King would have said, yeah, 2 years ago I'd
Yeah.
have felt a little bit, but
Yeah.
That was a Mike King thing for me
Yeah.
to just say, we moved that 2 years ago.
yeah, that
So,
is a Mike King completely.
Yeah.
Well, at least you found it then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we all lived happily ever after.
Yeah,
right?
we did. It was
well,
good.
and it's actually worked out really well. It just was a little bit of a, everyone learning on that. But having that, my birthday is the 18th of March, and I remember that it shut down on the 19th, and so that day I did some shopping, and I remember that stores were like, there was hardly nobody there, you know what I mean, because people had already started talking, and I remember my family, I got a lot of beef that I was out and about, shopping for my birthday, and anyway, then on the 19th everything shut down, so.
Yeah.
I made it under the radar.
Yeah. You were doing,
So,
you were doing good.
but I mean, it's hard to think about that. But now, and your job's position was kind of created in that we know we need that.
Yeah.
And that was good that they saw the forefront of what we got coming down, because it really did change a lot. And I think that, I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it and we don't ever want to go back that way, but it really did bring a lot to the forefront as far as like our learning, our students, and just like for students learning to get along with each other and be in situations where they sit for a while. And I'm sure, Brittany, you saw that going on a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, just kids being out of the building for, roughly 2.5, 3 years. You just talk about from the social emotional standpoint of just not socializing with anybody for that time frame, and then coming into, back into a building with rules and other kids and adults. And so like I said, it was getting used to, spending 8 hours in a classroom and, kind of doing what they were supposed to. But yeah, it was definitely had its challenges for sure.
And Brittany, I'll let you. You're not talking very much over there. So was it like a big impact on you? And then we're going to get off this subject because I know.
Yeah, in the classroom you could tell a huge difference. Whether the kids, small little things like math facts and things like that, they were coming into 6th grade and things they should have learned when they were in 4th grade, but did virtual, because my last 4th grade year was the COVID year, and so I guess the year before that. So they, they're coming in and they don't know all these things. Well, then when I switched to 6th grade and then I got those kids that were in the COVID year back in 6th grade, I'm like, oh, these are things you should have learned in 4th grade, and because I knew that, I'm like, yeah, you guys missed out on so much, and you're still seeing some of it, but the elementary's starting to get out of that COVID phase there.
Good. Yeah, I would think that it would have, of course it would linger for a while.
It'll linger probably throughout until they're done with school.
Probably,
all those students.
Right, exactly, yeah. Did that ever make you question of why you become a teacher?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you think about
That's what I'm thinking.
Everybody has to
She didn't
think
even
that.
pause either.
Everybody thinks that way for sure. If you don't, then kudos to you, I guess. But it's hard. So many things changed, and you're trying to readjust the things that you've done, but then things that they've missed, you have to place that into the classroom too, and it's a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah, I think the thing that the teachers that have stayed and gone through, I think that really they were in it for the right reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not knocking somebody, maybe health-wise they had to get out of it, or maybe they, lived with a family member they didn't want to compromise. I get that, and I, will give grace to people on that. I'm not that, but I do think to stay with it speaks volumes, because it was a lot to go through.
It was, yep. Everybody had to transition differently through it.
Yeah. Well, you guys did great.
I often say that I wish parents and caregivers and things would be as appreciative of teachers and school systems as they were when they were having to deal with what they go through during the virtual learning, and and then all of a sudden, hey, they're back in school. But just remember how they had to pivot and help and change, and just be appreciative of what was being done. I think sometimes people forget that, back to school, and then they're just like, oh, yeah. I mean, because there's a lot of times, and, I think it's just as much the student, bless his heart, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Grayson, today. But anyway, I think it was just as much like, look, something's got to give. I'm not,
I don't even talk to my plants.
Equipped to this.
I'm sorry,
I'm not equipped for this.
I can't do this.
But I do wish, I think so. One of the COVID things that I wish people would remember is the appreciation for teachers and school systems, especially when things get quote unquote back to normal. So,
right.
Anyway.
And I think and hopefully they'll remember how hard it was to work with their students, work with their kids, at home on some of these lessons and stuff, and trying to get them taught, and what the value of the teacher. Yeah.
And
I agree.
Have we charged it? I mean, maybe it won't turn on because you haven't charged it.
Could have been.
Just simple stuff, right? So that reminds me, I'm going to put both of you on the spot. That's my job. Becky's the nice one, and I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So when you first started at West Washington, I'll just start with that, and you look at, you never thought there'd be a pandemic, things like that, but in your journey, did you see yourself on day one at West Washington anywhere remotely close to what you're doing year 8?
No, not really. I don't know that I had the ambition when I first started to get into the admin work. I'm glad I did, for sure. I love my job, but no, 10 years ago, I guess, when I started, because originally I was in Muncie and then right outside of Bloomington, and then did all my training with IPS and Indy. No, I never anticipated that it would lead here, but yeah, it's been a good run.
So real quick though, what gave you that motivation to
Just
go into admin part? Who or what gave you that motivation?
I guess it was just the point of, all right, maybe I should get my master's in case I want to do something different. And then, like we were talking about, the COVID thing happened, and then that opened up, and it seemed like a good challenge at the time. I was getting a little bit burnout on the PE gig, and so it's like, all right, let's try our hand at this, and really thankful that I did, to be honest.
Well, with me, I mean, elementary is where I wanted to be, and I had family at West Washington, so I kind of just gravitated towards there and was going to stay there. And I plan on staying there. I have no intentions of leaving. And as for transferring to 6th grade, that was something that just happened. But I love it. I love the 2 I work with. I love the people around me, and it's enjoyable.
But I feel like for us, it was, her mom and dad are still in schools for over 30 years now. My dad was a teacher for 35 years, so we just grew up in a school building. So it's kind of like that's all we ever knew, and that's all we were ever exposed to, which I'm grateful for. But definitely I was exposed to that the most. So that just seemed like the most common sense thing when we went to school. It was like, well, I guess I'm just going to be a teacher, and it's not. I guess I'm just, but that's what we wanted to do. That's what we had always seen.
Yeah, I mean, both of my parents are teachers, and then my brother went into teaching, and so then I went into teaching, and then my sister didn't. Well, now she's in teaching, so all of us, the whole family's in teaching. Aunts and cousins are in teaching, so it was just kind of, it was blood thing. You just kind of went into it.
But isn't that a huge advantage, because you can, I mean, all the things that you learn and see and know, like, I mean, you kind of, you watch your parents and you see them, when they come home, I mean, that it's a good time for them to unwind. They, really, because teaching is you're giving so much of yourself, you know what I mean? And, and sometimes it's, it's very little giving back, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to have a 6th grader come up and say, I really appreciate you, you know what I mean? You just, you know what I mean? No, I mean, that's not realistic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I mean, right? So, I mean, you're giving, and then, and you're, I guess, you're getting, what you're getting back is when you see that student, when the light bulb goes off and you see that 6th grader get it. You know what I mean? When something you're working on and you realize, oh, they're getting it, they're understanding it, and they're growing on that. So that's your rewards if you want to. You see what I'm saying, the seeds you planted, and then when you see them blooming, there you go. But I think that watching parents come home, how important it is that how private, or how important that treasure that time when they do get home, that they can kind of unprogram or kind of, maybe chill for a little bit or do whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think the outcome for Brittany is, 6, 7, maybe 10 years away to see what that kid has done or become. For me, it's a little bit easier because I see them as freshmen, and then, they get that diploma and finally get that job. So, like I said, it's a little bit easier for myself. But yeah, for her, I mean, it's you may see them 25 years later, and it's like, okay, you turned out all right.
Yeah.
Well, and then when you watch them walk across, you know what I mean, and you see that diploma being handed, you're like, oh, we did it, right?
Yep. Yeah, my first class that I ever taught in 4th grade, they're juniors now.
Ah.
So I'll be able to witness this in a couple years.
Yeah. Do you get attached to them?
Oh, for sure, especially the girls that are on my team and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all pretty close.
I love that. Yeah. How could you not, right?
Right.
Yeah, me too. All right. Brent, let's talk about what does the vice principal do? What's some of your job duties, I guess?
Basically attendance and discipline in a nutshell. So basically just ensuring that,
bad cop.
Yeah, Dr. Gertis is good cop, and I am bad cop, and Keith is the very good cop.
Yeah.
So no, it's basically attendance and discipline, just making sure that one, the kids are at school, and then two, doing what they're supposed to do, and that's basically it in a nutshell. But it's not all bad.
No.
I really like it. Like I said, I think of it as a lot more of like reform work and trying to get kids back on the right path with, some of their grades and some behaviors, and trying to get them to school, because, we can't work with them if they're not in the building. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest part of it, is just getting them there on a consistent basis. And, as well as I do, that's probably one of the best skills that a kid can have, is just showing up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that just speaks volumes. If you're there, then we can do something. So one is just getting them in the building, which, like I said, our attendance has been very good the last 4 years. We put in a new policy with all the county schools, and our prosecutor, Tara Coates Hunt, and then
She's rocking it. She's doing a good job.
Yeah,
She's doing a great job.
she has been
Yeah.
great for us. We do meetings about once a semester with all the county admin and her, and she's very good at just asking us, what do you guys need from us? And we kind of give her, this is the issue that we see, and she goes, all right, let's address it. So, and then Judge Medlock, 4 years ago, he was big into the attendance stuff, and
I agree.
so we started doing like truancy court, where if we had kids that weren't coming in, they would go up in front of him, and that's very, intimidating, going
Yeah.
to, not showing up to school. I don't know what they would do beforehand, but very intimidating, going to the courthouse or the jail and standing there in front of the judge and him telling you to get your butt to school. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so yeah, 4 years ago we put in that attendance policy, but it's continually gotten better. And not to keep speaking on COVID, but I feel like we haven't been wearing out that excuse like we did the first 2 years, first 3 years, where if we saw a behavior, if we saw something attendance related, we said, well, that's COVID. Now it's, no, this is what it means to be responsible. This is what it means to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, and my question would be, so you're working with parents a lot in this role too, right? You're
Yeah.
building those bridges, just not, hey.
Or burning them.
Or burning them. Either way. So that's important. So this role is a little bit different, I think, as what a lot of people would think for an assistant principal is. You're, yes, discipline, all that, but you're really an advocate for correcting the behaviors and those kids turning things around, right?
Yeah, so
it's relationship building too, right?
Yeah, whether they like it or not, I tell them, I'm doing this out of love. It definitely doesn't seem like it, but them getting a detention with me doesn't even compare to 10 years down the road, their boss telling them that they need to start finding a different job. So I guess be a little bit thankful that I'm doing this now, and we're trying to correct this before it becomes something more detrimental, and it becomes something even more serious. So, like I said, the parents are great. I never have any issues out of the parents, and really the kids either. Kids are kids. They're going to make mistakes. It's our job to fix it. Brittany can attest to it too. It's that's our job. So, like I said, whenever I call a parent and say they need to start coming to school, most of the time they're in agreement. And if I call and say, hey, they're on their phone too much, or they're eating too much glue down here, they need to stop, most of the time they're in agreement about that. So
wait, are you being serious?
I'm just joking.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but no, like I said,
He's trying to soften his bad cop image.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe,
I didn't know that was a reminder. I'm trying to figure. Okay.
Yeah, if they're eating glue in high school, then we got a real issue.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I was worried over here.
It's
No.
above everybody's pay grade at that point.
No, but from my perspective, like I said, it's me disciplining them out of love, or trying to correct them out of love.
Sure.
So, like I said, they, in 2 years, if they're a sophomore, they can get that diploma. And if they do some of this stuff, 10 years down the road, then it's not just Mr. Ingram they're looking at, it's somebody else. So that's kind of where I look at it.
Right. Well, I think that's good, and I think they need encouragement, and I think sometimes, maybe even the parents sometimes, just the awareness and having that relationship. We know that it's like everybody working together,
Mm-hmm.
And, there's sometimes maybe parents, they have to leave before the child gets the school bus, they work or something, and, you're talking about a high school student, that's old enough to be okay, but also has to put that responsibility of making sure you get to that bus and get, or drive yourself to school. So I think that's good and an encouragement. I think that in the working environment, maybe there's been some that we've seen that don't show up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just not doable. Like
Yeah.
you said, it's going to be a lot harder down the road whenever they don't show up to that job and they get fired,
Oh yeah. I mean, we have those discussions all the time. You can't come to work 15 minutes late with a bag of McDonald's and think it's okay.
Correct. Absolutely.
You're gonna serve a lunch detention today,
we
but
might
I think
get
you
for
need
a
to do
little
some
on that.
onboardings
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
I really do. But one of West Washington's students, former students, Darcy Stout, she
Yeah.
came to us when she was 15, she would come and say, "I want a job when I turn 16. I want a job when I turn 16." She's done an amazing job.
yeah, she's
But
great.
one thing that was funny about her, she had missed work for something, and I was just like, "Hey, I expect, as a West Washington student, I expect you to not miss work."
Mr. Ingram told you to be at work.
And she goes, "Oh, I promise." She's like, "I was sick, and she said, I hated missing work." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You miss money and stuff like that." But what she said, the reason, she's like, "I was afraid you would call the school and tell them I didn't come to work."
Oh, that's
She's an
funny,
amazing
funny.
kid.
Yeah.
She's an amazing
Yeah.
kid. So you guys have done a great job with her. But I just think that's interesting that she's like, no, I know, I got to go to work. I learned that. So you guys are giving them those.
No, and I
skills.
think right now, just speaking figures, I think we're at the last few years since we put in the policy, we've had about 95%. That's kind of our average for attendance daily.
Great.
So,
That's great.
I mean, that just tells you that there's quite a few kids that are showing up on a regular basis, especially, like I said, after the COVID ordeal. That was our biggest concern, but it's gotten a lot better for sure.
Well, and there's, when you're a teenager, there could be a lot going on too. There could be
Oh, yeah.
somebody, a family member they lost or something. They're just kind of going through some things, or, life in general just happens. So it's always nice to have somebody on your side to say, hey, is there something I can do? We're noticing you're not attending, you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
town. And I think that accountability and that being that person, I think it's so valuable that they have you, Brent.
Yeah. I think we try to take each situation, separately and try to see the kid for who they are. But like I said, each of these kids has a different situation, and trying to figure them out and trying to get them to the point of walking across that stage. That's kind of the end goal.
Absolutely. Brittany, on your end, what do you teach again?
6th grade, I do all subjects. It's
Oh, okay.
Still elementary.
Okay. All subjects. Oh, wow. So.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Look how many hats you wear. Yeah.
I do.
So, tell us about what you do, like some of the jobs I guess you do, and some of the little bit a day in the life of a 6th grade teacher, which multitasking quite a bit.
Multitasking for sure. Yeah, it's not the most glamorous thing on some days, but I mean we get through it. So I mean, we teach every subject. We're getting ready for the iLearn here. We took our checkpoints Monday and Tuesday of this week, and
Explain
iLearn.
that, because a lot of times people are
The iLearn checkpoints. It's sort of like a new system that we're just testing it out for the state. The big iLearn test, it's originally iStep. It's still in April, but we've been doing the checkpoints. So we've had 3, and it's basically a smaller condensed test of what they'll see in April. It's all multiple choice like that, and then so what we've done is they've split it into 3 sections, and all those sections are basically like, okay, here's 1/3 of what you're going to learn for this year. You're going to go ahead and just take that part of the test at the 3 months into the school year, and then here's another third, and then another third. And so in reality, we probably should have finished teaching all of our information before we take that 3rd checkpoint. But sometimes that's just not, we still have 2.5 months left of school or whatever. Right. So we're not done with everything, but we double up on things to make sure that they get all the information that they need to take those tests. But the checkpoint is it's not their actual iLearn score this year. But it's just like kind of a baseline that we're going to look off of to maybe see where we're going to be when that actual iLearn test comes out. They'll take that, and that'll show how well they did over the course of the year and how well the teachers taught them over the course of the year. So, I mean, we all kind of see where we need to be and how much we all need to grow individually and in our classrooms.
I was, in D.C. last week, and they talked about in teaching, like, it used to be more about, like, grades, and now it's more about growth.
Growth, yes.
Which, don't you love that? I mean, isn't that, because that's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because maybe you're not really good test taker, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or something, or you get really nervous with something like that. But your growth, don't you love that as a teacher? I'm sure that would be.
Yeah, that you get, when you have, like, let's just say, like, I was an average student in school, and I'm sure maybe I showed growth throughout a year, but the ones, high ability kids that are just very intelligent, it's hard for them to show growth within like a certain grade level. I mean, we've got some kids, I know there's a 5th grader right now that's testing like in high school level things, and so he's necessarily not going to show growth within a school year because he's already set the bar so high that first time. And so his growth is going to be very minimal compared to a kid that, is coming in, he's high 5th grade level coming into 6th grade. He's going to show growth throughout that year because he's started, where the average kid needs to be. So the growth, I love growth and then hate growth at the same time because it's so hard to determine it within specific kids. But as a whole, it's nice to see as a whole, as your class.
Right.
Because you want to see your class growing.
Absolutely. I think, that you have, all different circumstances. Everybody grows. I mean, like let's take a baby. Some walk earlier, some talk earlier, some, they crawl earlier. I mean, and I think growth is so, but then, whenever we put them in a classroom, we expect them all to be on the same level.
No, they're not.
And that's not doable at that point. Will they by 8th grade, 9th grade, by the time they hit Mr. Ingram, they might be more equally yoked, so to speak. It might, their bloom of late bloomers and stuff. But I think that elementary school is so hard because you are, going from the, if you will, the caterpillar to the butterfly, so to speak. There's so many changes.
And everybody's just so different and on different paces,
absolutely.
and it's just, it's hard at the same time to see growth, but then it's good at the same time to see it.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, but I do like the testing. I like that they kind of give those pre-testing.
Yeah, this is the first year that we've done that. We're kind of just testing it out for the state.
Yeah, I like that. I think that because testing, like you can see, like I know that like some people like, ooh, I hate testing, but then you kind of see the point where we kind of need accountability and see where we're at, and that kind of gives. I know it can all day long we could talk about that, pros and cons. You know what I mean on that. But I do think that kind of giving them to see the growth and to chart what's going on with the child, and stuff. So I think that's good. So a lot going on there. All right, let's talk about the baseball. So you're the baseball coach?
Yeah, 8 years, 8 or 9 years now.
Giddy up.
I was gonna say we got to get to the important stuff: baseball and softball.
Yeah. So I think 8 years ago your nephew was playing. I know you were at quite a few games. As far as this season goes, I think we graduated 7 seniors this past year. So we have we have a really young team this year. Great kids. I think they'll definitely take their lumps, but I look at it as a really good challenge. Like I said, I definitely think they're going to take some of their licks, but they're going to learn a lot along the way.
Well, you have a really nice building.
Yeah. The complex has been a game changer.
And I love Philip Bausman's the one that thank him that, and I was he was over the moon when he was able to get that. So I can't say enough.
So that complex, I think I know Brittany can basically have a full practice in there, and she can run the softball dimensions.
I can put a full infield, like bases in there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so for us it's a little bit more challenging, but we do have, like I said, we do have the facility, so we can do a lot more in there. I think we have 2 drop-down cages, and then we have 3 indoor mounds, and then you have a whole other section where you can do some infield, outfield work, some breakdown stuff. So the complex for us has just been a game changer versus I think before we were in the gym, and we would string like a wiffle ball on a basketball goal, and it was like those hit arounds where you would hit it and then it would just circle around and you'd hit it again. So definitely a game changer for us. I can see the kids just 10 times better since we put that in.
Yeah. Well, and he was on it. I mean, he was on it to get it. I don't know if you ever heard the story about how he came about it, and he was the first one to apply, and they, and he got it. And first of all, then another school in the state said they wanted it, and so they gave it was used to the other school, and then they bought brand new. And then brand new out there. So
I think it's like a combine turf, maybe.
Yeah, I think such a blessing.
Yeah, because he was on with us 2 or 3 times just talking about all.
Yeah, he was so proud of that.
Such an amazing thing.
Yeah, which we loved him.
And then I think afterwards, it was like everybody was like, we have to have that. It was like, how did those guys out there get that?
Yeah.
And now you see, I know from a baseball perspective, because it's right by the field, so we have coaches coming in, and Brittany, she can probably attest to it a little bit, is we have coaches come in and they see this big building and they're like, what the heck's that? And then you go show them and they're like, how did you get this? And it's like, it wasn't me, man, And then, I see them a year later, 2 years later, and they're like, we're still trying to get that.
I love that. Well, that was it. That was actually a work. I mean, that was shaking and moving on Philip Bausman's part.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of that. Okay, let's go back on the baseball.
Yeah.
When's your first opening? There's a it's okay.
So we will go to Cannleton on.
Yeah, you can tell
Got
me
a
now.
cat.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So we'll go to Cannleton. I think April 1st this year, and
where's that at?
April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
So that's down by Tell City.
Okay.
And it's, I don't know if you know anything about Cannleton. Real small school. I think probably 30 kids per class. They have roughly 100 kids in the school, but they used to play minor league baseball at their park, and so they have like a big grandstand and everything. So it's actually a really fun experience for the kids. It takes us about an hour and 15 to get there, so the drive isn't much fun, but I always enjoy playing at, like I said, this old minor league stadium. It kind of looks like a league of their own over in Huntingburg, where they played that movie with Tom Hanks and everything. It kind of resembles that, so it's a nice experience for the kids. So we'll go there April 1st, and then Saturday we actually picked up Wood Memorial, and I think they're coming to our place. So our first week is Cannleton and then Wood Memorial.
Love that. Are there any new changes to some of the rules? You know how they always like to change things. I guess a lot of times just pretty well.
I think the big thing is our kids were allowed to wear jewelry, which I didn't think with a high school baseball team would be such a big deal. But the amount of I don't know how many
They
chains.
gotta have that bling on their neck.
Yeah,
Are you kidding?
yeah. It's like how
Come
many
on.
chains can I fit
Oh,
on my
absolutely.
neck?
Well, I'm all for it. I think, I agree.
Well, I mean, you see some of these Reds players, and it's just like they got 7 chains.
They do.
They do,
Yes,
though.
They do.
I don't know how many Ellie has, but it's just.
Hey, and how fast
You're
is that
preaching
man?
to the choir.
Yeah,
I'm
and
right here.
yes,
So-
preach it.
More
Yeah,
chains,
exactly.
the faster you go, right?
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Absolutely. Now, have you seen
Yes.
that man
It looks
run?
like a choking hazard to me, though. When I see him
no.
running those bases,
From the coach grabbing a hold of him, right?
I'm like, that can't be safe.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. We love every bit of it, and especially when the sun hits it and it gets that
Oh.
sparkle, that shine.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so
love
I'm
every
going
bit
to
of
say
it.
it like you talked about a league of their own. Tom Hanks said there's no crying in baseball.
Yeah.
There should be no bling in baseball.
No
Bradley
bling in
Gilbert.
baseball.
No.
Can you imagine him saying that line in the movie? There's
Yeah.
no bling in baseball.
Yeah.
To this day and age.
Yes,
Yes,
this-
because I love his hand motions
Yeah.
when she's walking off and he's still going like that. Anyway, sorry.
Now, many moons ago, when I played basketball, you couldn't wear earrings. And you know how many
Yeah.
times we got in trouble because, we would
earrings
forget our
in.
earrings in, or something. Yeah.
Forget.
Yeah.
Now you see the girls with like Band-Aids all over
Yeah, they do.
themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
What
last
happened?
last year was the first year we could wear all the jewelry.
Oh, I would.
Oh, they wear it. They just can't have the hoops.
I was gonna say, what about the hoops? 'Cause
No,
I would have to.
hoops.
Oh, the hoops! I love the
Yeah,
hoops.
you'll have some umpires kind of ignore it, but some are like get the hoops out. But
Yeah.
so they'll put all their earrings in, they'll leave their necklaces on, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So. We don't
So-
have real chains, but
I love
They-
the
they
chains.
have, like,
I
some
love
of
it.
my
I think
guys
they
are
look wonderful.
borrowing their chains from their girlfriends on the softball
Yes,
team.
yes.
Hey.
That's
Where
what
did
it
you
is.
get that
So
thing?
you get-
I love
Yeah.
that.
There you go.
I love that so
The
much.
inside story, yeah.
Yes, yes. I'm all about it. I love every bit of it. Yeah. So
Like, well, it doesn't look much. It doesn't look very cool when you're striking out, man.
well, and that's the thing.
You end up with all your chains on your back,
Yeah.
like going down your back.
You
It's
can
like,
look
wait a
the
minute.
look, but can you walk the walk?
Yeah,
right?
it's not as cool
Yeah.
when you're striking out.
Yeah.
When Ellie hits a home run, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Now that and when that's running,
Yeah.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
that's all good.
Yeah.
Walking back to the dugout and it's not flying behind you, that's not cool.
That's right.
So we know how he feels about that rule change.
I love that. So
As long as you're hitting, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
that's where I am on that stance.
I love that. What was it? What was the reasoning for? I mean, I'm all for it and I love it. But what was the reasoning? They just thought that people like to wear them, or what?
I think they just found that it was kind of petty to police it. You know, umpires just stopping the game and.
I can see like the hoops and stuff, like because like
Yeah,
you
things
could
like can get
pull,
caught,
you could pull it, yeah, and I can see all that.
Yeah, so I think they finally just realized, like, all right, this is kind of petty. We've got bigger issues on a baseball field than
True.
telling a kid to take
Yeah.
a chain off, or even the bands around the wrist, you know, the rubber bands. They were making kids take that off, and it would take 20 minutes for him to jog back to the dugout, and it just became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thankful for it. Like I said, it's just one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah. So you guys have been having practice.
Yep.
And when did you start practice?
So we don't ever stop workouts. We actually, our first official practice is next week, and then Brittany, they started a week before us.
Yeah, we started Monday.
Yeah, usually. And okay, so Brittany, we're going to jump into you. When's your first game?
Our first game's April 3rd against Eastern. Yep.
Oh,
It's
that's
a
fun.
Home game. Yep.
So is that Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's
okay.
at West Washington.
Okay.
Yeah. The week we get back from spring break.
Oh wow.
So we'll have 3 days of practice and then our first game.
So do you guys have any games no games during spring break? That's nice. Yeah.
I don't.
We have a scrimmage down at Corden, so I entice the guys. I say, if you stay for spring break and go with me, then I'll take you to Culver's and we can get a milkshake. So
Absolutely.
that's how.
Yeah.
You sold me.
Yeah. So we have a scrimmage.
I don't think that would work for mine.
No,
Yeah.
I'd rather go to the beach.
They might go to the beach, so I
They're like,
don't
wait a
even.
minute,
I don't even
wait a
have
minute,
those.
wait a minute.
I know.
Culver's
Most
of
of
the
my
ocean.
friends-
Yeah. You would lose
Yeah.
every
I
time.
try though. I mean, I gotta try.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
that's like you're really trying to sell that.
Yeah, it's not that big of a sell though.
No, I can imagine. Well, it makes it hard. I get it, and I know spring sports, and I'm all for it, but because sometimes that puts a damper on family time trying to get to the beach.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of hard time to juggle, but it's just a scrimmage, so
Yeah, so we'll be
That's a
all
little
right.
bit, yeah.
But we've had to fight that for years. Just
I
'cause
think it's even been when Brad and I were in school like that. I think kind of.
at least we don't have 2 weeks. For us, the 2 week spring break was terrible because we would lose the kids for 2 weeks. Like when me and Brittany would be trying to have practice, and you got a game coming back from spring break, and you got that kid that's just sunburned as can be coming back, and you're like, can you play first base today, dude? Like, where have you been?
Yeah. Well, I think that and on that too, also like their mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because trying to get their mind, out off the beach. You know what I mean? No palm trees, no beach here. You know what I mean? You're on the mound. You know what I mean?
You got to get this bunt down, and they're thinking of boogie boarding. So,
Yeah. Out there. Love that. So Brittany, yours is coming up on April the 3rd, right?
Yep.
And tell us a bit, any new, besides the jewelry, anything new on, I always like to know the new rules, so then when I'm watching the game, when something's called, okay.
There's not really a whole lot of new rules within the game, but other than like they've allowed like electronic communication devices this year from the dugout to the catcher. I don't know if we're going to utilize it yet. We still haven't made a decision on that, but it would only be from the coach to the catcher only. Whether it's a transmission to their watch that says, "Hey, throw this pitch or do this," or like through a headset, like through headphones or something that the catcher will wear. The only negative I see to that is then the field doesn't know, what you're trying to do, what pitch you're calling, things like that. And I'm big on them knowing what's coming.
Okay.
So I don't know what we'll decide to do. We're still in the works, talking to the catcher, figuring out what we'll decide.
So going back to League of Their Own, you're killing me, Alice. You can't say stuff like that to your catcher.
Yeah, so
yeah.
now I can just
Yeah.
send it, and she can
Yeah.
read it on her
Yeah,
watch or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for both of you, we talked about season coming. What kind of fundraisers do you have coming up? That's always, I think, we need to get that information out there.
Right.
I've already finished our fundraising.
Okay.
So this past Saturday we hosted a golf scramble.
Which I sponsored.
You did.
for
You
that.
did sponsor. Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
it was a great turnout.
Nobody from baseball asked me to sponsor you.
Well, we do the banners.
They do
So if
banners,
Walmart
yeah.
wants to sponsor a banner
Alright.
out on the
Yeah,
outfield fence.
so we do
Alright.
that, and then we do the softball does the Winter League, the West Washington Winter League for the basketball. So we do that. So that's kind of our fun. Those two things that are our fundraisers for this year. So
So can people still get
Yeah.
banners? How much are they?
So banners are $250 for the first year and $125 every year after. They will actually not only hang at baseball, but they'll go up at football too, and then they'll go on the rolling projector screen at basketball in the wintertime. So it's not just baseball that they're getting advertised at. So yeah,
Okay.
if anybody's interested in a banner, contact Mr. Ingram.
Love that. And then as far as the, I guess they're getting all of the grounds ready and getting it, yeah. It's a lot of work.
yeah, we're actually to the point where we're not able to get on our field right now. So we've been working with how when our field floods, it really takes about all of our brick dust with it
Yeah,
every single time.
sure.
And so yesterday we actually laid sod around the whole thing, so it just enclosed the entire infield, hopefully to hold all that brick dust in. Yeah, we had our first official practice with a tractor and a dump truck on the field with us. Yesterday we weren't able to get on the field, and now we're going to be practicing on the front field until that sod really adheres to the ground. And so after spring break is when we can get back on it.
Love that.
So
And a little bit about your team. Do you have seniors, or what do you got? What's your
yeah,
made up of?
we have 7 returners
Okay.
from the sectional championship team last year.
Yay, well, that's awesome.
So we have a couple spots to fill, a couple people who are going to be switching positions and finding new roles on the team to help us succeed this year.
I think as a baseball coach, finding what niche that person goes in, you know what I mean, and their talent level, And I'm sure there's some surprising stories where you maybe didn't realize that that they could be a good pitcher, or or where they would. I mean, I'm sure that's kind of, is that like when they first start practicing? Do they kind of tell you what they like, or do you just start watching what they seem to be?
Well, I'm going to be mean and say I don't care what they like.
Yeah. They're going to go where we put them.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But no, like for us, it's very
Right.
challenging because we have 14 guys, and you've been to plenty of our games. It's not like the Reds where you have a shortstop and he plays shortstop every single day. When we bring our shortstop into pitch, then our third baseman goes to center field and our right fielder goes to catcher, and then our catcher, he becomes the second baseman. So for us, it's very challenging because we've got to teach 14 kids, 3 or 4 different spots. And then you have to teach that shortstop, second baseman, first baseman, you have to teach them all to pitch. And so for us, it's very, very challenging trying to figure out what works with each kid. Can I make this happen here? But like I said, it comes back to, it's a challenge every year.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. They don't have to. Yeah.
But they don't have a choice.
I love that. Yeah.
They're voluntold.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a good way to
you
put
don't have
it.
to worry about it is what it is. Well, that works out really well. Well, I think it's going to be, hopefully the weather is going to cooperate. Of course, we know this week's going to be nice, but who knows what's around the river bend. But hopefully you guys, well, it sounds like you guys got a lot going on, from the teaching atmosphere to the coaching atmosphere, which I love that. I think it, and I know, I really want to stress to our listeners how much devoted time, and Brad, we can brag on you guys, you two, for sure, because all the time that you're putting in, not only are you, putting in your, start from the morning to, the end of school, and then we know practices, all the hours you're putting into practices, all the time you're putting in with our students, and then of course games. You said 28 games possible.
Yeah, so it's trying to figure out 28 games in basically a month and a half. It looks like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday night, and then usually a Saturday doubleheader. So for about a month and a half, it's pretty much every night.
Well, thank you for what you do, because I know there's a little bit of a check, but it doesn't cover all the hours. You know what I mean? By no means. You know what I mean? Yeah. if you don't ever do the math on that, because it'd probably be like 5 cents an hour.
I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't really do it for the
Yeah,
money.
don't-
You're not
yeah.
in it for the money.
No, definitely not. But lessons and the life lessons, and we know that anytime, and no matter what you're doing, whether it's the drama, whether it's tennis, whether it's whatever, football, whatever it's basketball, whatever, we know that to be a part of a team there's nothing like that in the growth and what they're learning. So, thank you for all you guys do on that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep building the culture out there. West Washington does a great job with that. And,
Keep us in the know,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, will do.
And wearing that bling. I'm gonna come see that bling.
I
Okay?
guess. You can
Yeah.
yell at them if they strike
Yeah.
out. Tell them take
I-
that off.
No, I
You don't deserve to wear that.
Now, Alex and Brady aren't wearing bling, are they?
Oh, Brady is.
Radio.
See, I'll tell you.
I've got a Tucker and Parker that
So she is.
I buy them bling.
So
Yeah, they are blinged
you
out.
shouldn't have said the Brady is because she is a fan of Brady Rosenbaum. So
Love Brady.
she
Yeah, does
thinks.
Brady wear it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why would I not?
So you need to have him check the fence for me just a few times.
You're just
just
building that ego here online or here
I
on the
love
air.
it.
No,
I love it.
because he always tells everybody out of those 4 boys that he's my favorite. But Alex kind of he does a great job for us over there. So he kind of quietly sneaks in, as far
Yeah.
as that goes. But anyway, so give them some grief, and especially Brady.
Thank you for coming in and keep up the great work. You guys are rock stars over there. Keep it up.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Keep up.
Let's thank our sponsors, Bradley.
All right, we've got Meadowview Healthcare, Walmart, Salem Crossing, Americans for Prosperity, Mama Rose's, Fox Purley Wealth Management, Dr. Black's Eye Associates, Dr. Mindy Gunn, Marshall Monuments, and McAllister Land Consulting.
All right, let's have the best Wednesday ever, guys.
Head on over to McDonald's in Salem, French Lick, and Bedford to celebrate after the game, to enjoy that one-of-a-kind taste of McDonald's or warm up with some hot coffee. McDonald's is saving you money with the McValue menu at breakfast and lunch. You can get either a sausage McMuffin, sausage biscuit, sausage burrito, or a hash brown, and get one more for just $1. And at lunch, you can get either a double cheeseburger, McChicken, 6-piece nugget, or a small fry, and get one more for just $1. Stop in on Tuesdays where Happy Meals are just $3 from 4 to 8 p.m., along with kids' activities.